Good morning, good morning. Apologies if there's a bit of a lag at the start of the video there. Our internet access, even on fibre, seems to be running a little slowly at the moment. Another dreich day, as we say in Scotland, although obviously I'm at the English office today. Right, what have we got for you? First of all, breaking news, the ECHA websites are down for the whole of this weekend. They're going off at 5 o'clock today, which is 3 p.m. UK time, and they aren't reopening until 9 o'clock on Monday, which is 7 a.m. UK time. I'm just putting a link to their LinkedIn post about this. It seems to have come completely out of the blue. We don't know what's happening, whether it's related to the ECHA Chem website or they've just had some kind of problem. But if you were planning on doing some work around the ECHA website, doing a bit of classification work, trying to get ahead of yourself, it ain't going to be there, guys. So that's the first thing. In other news, we're obviously in the CLP Mastery, we have our monthly meetings so people can pop in and discuss things outside the program that we run in the autumn. And that is actually open to anybody who wants to sort of join on a self-serve basis. If you are interested in that, by the way, drop me an email or a direct message, janet@ttenvironmental.co.uk. We're doing such a lot of website work at the moment to get everything sorted. But yes, so anyway, we had a really, really interesting meeting. And one of the things that Ali was telling us about, which I wasn't aware of, and which is sort of has been brewing in her mind for a while, is that we've got a couple of unexpected consequences from the CLP, EU CLP Legislative Act being so delayed. And the first consequence is that Ali thinks that ECHA aren't able to put the classification and labelling inventory onto ECHA Chem until the Legislative Act is through. Now, I'm not quite sure why she thinks this, but I would imagine it'll be something to do with the endocrine disruptors moving from REACH into CLP. So that's the first thing. And the second thing, which is more directly applicable to those of us in the UK, where we're maybe selling into the EU and we need EU safety data sheets, and definitely applies to everybody in the EU with their safety data sheets, is, again, according to Ali, because the current REACH Annex 2 safety data sheet format is written for endocrine disruptors when they were a designation under REACH, it's going to have to be updated to take into account that endocrine disruptors have effectively moved from REACH, where they're a designation, into CLP. So there's going to have to be some changes to Annex 2. And of course, the longer it takes to get the CLP Legislative Act done, then the longer it's going to take for all these downstream effects to be able to be implemented. And of course, the ECHA Chem website thing and the CNL inventory is really important because it's going to take ECHA, a couple of years to migrate all of the data that they hold from the current ECHA website into ECHA Chem. And anything that holds that up is bad for industry because it means while that migration process is going on, we can't just rely on checking the old ECHA website. We've got to check ECHA Chem as well, in case at the moment there have been any updates to the REACH dossiers. So it's a bit of bad news that the EU CLP Legislative Act hasn't happened yet. It hasn't been voted on. Now, again, Ali, who frankly spends far too much time on this kind of stuff, but it's a hobby, I suppose. Ali said that there was something interesting going on with the timescales, and she's worked out that they could have actually done an EU parliamentary vote on, I think it was week commencing the 5th of February. And bear in mind that the EU Parliament weeks are only 4 days long because they don't work on a Friday. Nice work if you can get it. So they missed the week of the 5th. It's either going to have to go through on the 26th of February or the 11th of March. And if they miss those 2 weeks, then it's the 22nd of April. So that's 3 working weeks left in Europarliament to actually vote on the CLP Legislative Act. And that needs to come from the Environment Committee. Yeah. And the Environment Committee has actually got 7 pieces of legislation that they need to pass by the end of this Parliament. So the EU CLP Legislative Act is just 1 out of 7. Now, of course, being from the chemical industry, we are going to say, well, that's the most important one and it should be prioritized. But I've not checked to see what the other things are. And we don't know what the Environment Committee's priorities are. But I do think it's really super important for the sanity of those of us working in chemicals and regulatory affairs that we get the EU CLP Legislative Act passed as soon as possible, because until it's passed, we don't know exactly what's in it. And I think it's actually quite a risk to be saying, oh yeah, well, this is what's in the draft, because we still don't know if it's going to be in that form. I do not trust the process not to make changes, or there to be changes when things are translated and then come back into English. We just don't know yet. So yes, ECHA, you know, could you bring any pressure to bear on this whole process and get it speeded up, because it's in your interests too? Anyway, I shall get off my soapbox. There's a whole pile of information about what I've just described, and also a lot of other useful information in our newsletter. And if you are interested, then you can always sign up for the weekly newsletter here. Let me just put the link in below this video. So yes, lots happening at the moment in the industry, almost too much. It's more than one man can bear, which is why there's a lot of quotes rallying this week. Anyway, other stuff, reasons to be cheerful. Well, let's say it's from the two Ronnies again, which it is, and it's a really interesting one because it's the Water Pub, and this is then basically talking about, and this would be the 1970s, a pub that only sold water, you know, different varieties of water. And so it has come to pass. They were more prescient than they knew. Well, more or less, I don't suppose you'd call it a water pub, would you? But yeah, it's the concept of designer water and everything. So I hope that cheers you up a bit as we deal with the ever-increasing flood of regulations. Hope this has been some interest. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope to chat to you again next week. Take care of yourselves. Bye.